Hi, my name is Gregory Nelson, and I go by the artist name Yo Asakura. And I am one of the creators of Unlikely Heroes. Unlikely Heroes is a company that I'm trying to begin that will allow us to take part in some of the things that we love, namely being anime, manga, cartoons, video production and animation production, studio production, music entertainment, and music production. A lot of these ideas and a lot of these talents can be utilized in a way to sufficiently fund and benefit our lives for better. The problem is that a lot of people are suffering in the world because they have these talents, but they do not know where they can utilize them to gain some type of funding to sustain their living situations or their habits or their hobbies. So I wanted to try and make this video presentation so that I can make the business plan clear and more personable. As it is, this is not a scripted video. I am simply recording this video outright and very formal and very natural because I want you to see who I am and why I'm doing things how I'm doing things. This is the best way that I know how to get this information out to everyone nowadays, because every time people read things, they misunderstand things, and I believe that it turns out to be double work. So I'm putting this presentation together so that I may be able to present to you how I intend to utilize an investment from an investor to jumpstart the program Unlikely Heroes, a project that I'm passionate about, a project that I've been seeking out to build and make successful since 2012. I want to go ahead and just bring you guys over to the first page of the document because I wanted to outline how I'll be able to pay the investor back. The goal here is that I want to be able to distribute our manga issues and shirts and apparel to all of our customers. How can we do this? Well, I've set up areas of focus in which we are going to focus on numbers and money and gathering so that we may proficiently and effectively pay the investor back with their appropriate interests. If you look at the first document, it shows that I have outlined a table at the top that outlines every 3 months that we will have a rate in which we will be gaining information and statistics on how we make our sales. Now, to just make this simple so that it's not too complex, the plan that I want to try and incorporate is that I buy 50 issues of our manga, and 50 issues cost $185.50 because they go at a rate of $3.71. The reason for this is because when they make books, they take bulk orders. So when they take bulk orders, the more that you buy, the less per issue, the less amount per issue. So with that being said, when you look at it, it shows that 50 issues will cost $185.50, and there's a shipping cost on getting those books to us. The cost, however, is never more than $20. So I wanted to try and incorporate that the highest amount that it could ever possibly be is $20. So we put that on reserve. And if I were to do this, the amount of times that we're trying to do this, I factor out that I'm going to be selling a total of 300 issues. So I'm accounting for the cost of shipping for all of these items with that $200, all throughout the whole time I'm doing the 6 cycles, which I'll explain in a moment. Now, the mangas will be sold at $20 per issue. That'll include taxes and shipping. The shipping is usually $3 for things of this size. It's never higher than that because we have drop shipping, and it's made it so that each item is never higher than $3. Literally, for a book and 2 posters, it's always been a situation where it's been like $2, $1 and change, things of that nature because it's so small. When I look at the returns of the manga itself, if I were to sell 1 issue, that's $20 plus $1.20 for taxes, of course, and then I add the $3 for each individual issue. So I do my numbers all together at this rate, and I end up with $24.20 per issue if I want to take care of the shipping, taxes, and the actual item itself. However, I find it more proficient to sell these at $25 per issue. Why? Because if a person asks, how much is the issue? It's 148 pages long. if you take a look at it, this is the actual issue here, the first issue, and this has a plethora of pages in it. So this is not simply one or two chapters. We have a couple of chapters in here. I believe there are six chapters in this issue here. Okay, and this is the actual first issue. So I want it to be known that the reason why we're selling it for $25 is because think of it as this takes care of shipping and the taxes. Oh, it's $25 altogether? Okay, so we find it easier to sell these at that rate online since we have to cover shipping. The reason why we want to do this online is because it makes it so that we can account for the cost that we're going for if we have to add the shipping charge. And usually people don't mind the shipping charge if they're getting the item for a fair price. Let's continue. Now, if we were to get 50 issues, if we were to take that into account at that rate, I would return with $1,000 plus $60 for the total tax plus $150 for all of the shipping together. And if I were to do this at the rate of $24.20, I would end up with $12.10 when I am done. However, if I round up to $25 per issue, then that will give me a total of $1,250. That means we earn an extra $30 when done this way. So that means that we end up with $1,250, and all we did was spend $200 so far of the amount. With this, I'm going to take into account the deductions. Now, if we begin at $12.50, which is the amount that we came back with, we take out the amount that we used initially to stock in the first place, which is the $200, and that'll bring us down to $1,050 or $10.50. Just not confuse anyone. The taxes to pay, obviously in Florida, are 6%, so that would be $60. And we hold that for that specific purpose. That'll bring us down to $9.90. Then we'll pay back the investor's initial money, which is $200. That'll bring us down to $7.90. And then we'll give the interest of 50% from the initial $200. That'll be another $100, and that'll bring us down to $700. So what this chart states is that we come home ourselves with a profit of $700 every 50 units. And that's when I would cut a check to the investor for $300. That will consist of the initial $200 that I've used for these 50 issues plus $100 of interest. So now let's go over to the next one. It's basically the same layout for shirts. However, the amounts are reversed over here. The investor wins bigger over here because shirts are the cash cow, whereas the manga is more individual and actual like our property. So we're not expecting that to move as fast as the shirts can, given that the shirts can be anything literally we want to put on them. All we have to do is cover 50. As the chart may show, you see there that we purchased 50 shirts at $12 each. So therefore, a total of 50 shirts would cost $600. With the $600, we have to take into account that we have to send all of these items out. However, we work with a company called Ajani Global, and they're very local and they're in-home. So therefore, we do not have to worry about things being shipped to us. However, to ship things out, he has a service in which allows us to send everything out at a rate, again, of just $3. So what I would also do is take another $150 to pay upfront to him for shipping all of these shirts out at an individual rate. Let's say every shirt had to go out, one shirt per customer, one place, no double ups. The worst case scenario would be that it would be $150 for shipping everything. So that's what I take into account. When I take that into account, the total will be $750. If you look, the shirts will be sold at $30 each. And then you add the taxes plus $3 for shipping. So when you come back with the returns, when I sell one shirt, that'll be $30 plus $1.80 for taxes plus $3 for shipping. That'll total us up to $34.80. However, when I do the math, I'm going to think about what's easier to say, $34.80 or just round up to $35. When I do $35, I come back with 50 shirts at $1,500 plus $90 for the taxes, plus $150 for the shirts and shipping them out, or because that's what we would have everyone pay for the services. Now, of course, that number may vary. When we sell the shirts at $35, we come back with a total of $17.90. So the starting cost of this was $750, and we come back with a return of $17.90. When I go into the deductions, what I will do here is, yes, of course, we have to have contingency plans, right? People tend to get things ordered in the mail and it comes damaged, it comes unwearable, or let's say it's too small, or they're not satisfied with the product somehow, so they send it back. We have all of these things to take into account. So every time we sell 50 shirts, out of that $17.90, we're going to take into account for restocking, for contingency. We take out $400 here. Now this $400 is for every time we sell 50 shirts only. So then it'll be $400, $800, $1,200, $1,600, and the like, all the way through. Why? Because this will always be contingency plan money. This will never be touched for anything, but don't worry, because we have everything else taken into account. Let's go back. The taxes to pay, Florida 6% would be $90. So that'll bring us down to $1,300. Then we'll pay back the initial investor's money, which is $750. The $750 will take us down to $550. And then we'll cut interest for 20% on the initial investment, which is $150. So if we take that out, it brings us down to $400. So every time we sell 50 shirts, I have to cut a check for the investor. For every time I sell 50 shirts, or we sell 50 shirts, I come back to the investor with a check for $900, which means that it's the initial investment of $750 plus an interest of 20%, which is $150 each time. Now, if you go over to the last page, or the third page, as I say, this third page just breaks down how I'm going to do the payments, or how I'm trying to aim to do the payments. Now, the range that we're going for is at least 50 shirts and 50 issues in 3 months. Now, that's not what our intended goal is. That is our worst case scenario. I have to do my projections in a way that shows a worst case scenario. Let's say you're the investor and then a hurricane hits. That might affect our sales for 1 month, of course. But then the second month, everybody's recovering and we're getting some momentum back. And then the third month, we still have 50 issues and 50 shirts to get out. We are still not delayed on time. We are not delayed on time. But what we are trying to do is go for how fast can we sell 50 shirts? How fast can we sell 50 issues? That's not a problem for us because we aren't the only ones distributing them. You see, we have a couple of celebrities that are in on this project. Cynthia Krantz from Dragon Ball Z, she does the voice of Chi-Chi. We have also Stephanie Nadolny, who does the voice of Gohan and Kid Goku from Dragon Ball Z. We have Chuck Huber, who does the voice of Android 17 and Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. We have Wendy Powell, who does the voice of Envy from Full Metal Alchemist, and we have Linda Young, who did the voice of Frieza from your childhood, if you watched it like that back then. So we have all of these people that are willing to help us with it. Imagine if Linda Young somehow sells 50 units by herself. That's when I cut a check for the investor for $300. What if she sells 50 shirts by herself? That's when I cut a check for the investor for $900. Not only that, we have events, conventions, we have other friends that live in other states that do not know who we are at all, but they live in areas that are seeking content just like this. Original content will have a taste of what you're used to, the voices of celebrities from their childhood. So when we break this chart down, what all this shows is I'm going to be paying back $750 plus interest. It's $150. And then I'm going to be paying back $200 plus interest of 50%, which is an extra $100. When you look at the totals, each time I make a payment, let's say I sell 50 shirts and 50 mangas at the exact same time each time. Let's just say that that's the standard scenario. This is how the paying back process goes. When I pay back the investor, I pay back the investor their initial monies. The interest is not included in paying back the total amount that I was invested. So I do payments of $950 because that means the shirts and the books as well. That'll be a total of $950 without the interest. Okay? When I do $950 payments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I'll be at $4,750. $50. And then the last payment will be just $250 to bring us back at the flat $5,000 that I was lent. However, every cycle, which is 50 books and 50 mangas, every cycle we have to cut a check, and that will account for the interest that's added on with the $150 from the mangas, so from the shirts, and the $100 from each of the mangas. So every time we sell 50 shirts and 50 mangas, that's an interest as well of $250. That'll be 6 payments as well of $250. That's interest. In the end of this, the investor will have their $5,000 back plus an extra $1,500 of interest for doing this with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know what you think about this. As it goes, if you look at the last page, of course it's just written out. After I do the 6 payment process back to the investor, when I do my numbers accordingly, I will come back with $9,000 in profit overall when I'm finished with just 300 books and 300 shirts. That would be far enough money to invest and keep this running. So I don't want, the question that a lot of investors like to ask is, when I'm doing this, will this be enough to sustain a living for us as well? Yes, I believe we factored that this can actually sustain a living for us, because the only thing I need to keep this going is to just draw out another chapter every 2 weeks. That is only 18 to 22 pages, but because everything is being shipped out from my home or being shipped out from the Ajani Global's actual place of operations, we have no worries for anything hiccuping or anything like that. We have everything accounted for, and we have all of our social media being opened up and paid for so that we'd be able to distribute to more people than we were ever able to before. The reason why we've never paid for social media promotion is because we wanted to make sure that we had everything finalized before we launched. I didn't want to have 39 issues of my story out and then it got famous. That would have made no sense. You have to make it so that everybody wants that first issue and they're waiting for that second. I hope this has been very enlightening for you, and I hope that I've been able to help you understand the policy and the plan that I've put together. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions, and thank you for your time. This is Gregory Nelson, pen name Yo Asakura, and we are Unlikely Heroes.